channel, please subscribe to my channel. I'm hoping to continue these videos. I'm very proud of myself because I wanted to make a video within a month of my last one. I'm a little late, but I'm here and I am glad to be back. This video, I wanted my second video to include my husband, but his schedule won't allow for him to be on camera at the moment, but we are still going to work on that. So stay tuned because I'm going to make a video about his perspective and how he felt throughout the journey. First off, I just want to start off by saying I watched my last video and we're our biggest critics, and I felt like there were a few things that I left out or I should have cleared up or I didn't say. So this video is going to be based around like a continuance of the first one, and then throwing in some other things about like my emotional journey, spiritual journey, and friendships and things like that along the way through my fertility journey. In my last video, I mentioned that I had PCOS. That was one of the diagnoses that I had, which is a polycystic ovary syndrome. I did not ovulate. But another condition that I was diagnosed with was Hashimoto's thyroid disease. That can also cause infertility. And so basically after all the treatments that I went through, they basically diagnosed me with unexplained infertility, which to me, all fertility suck. But unexplained infertility is very hard because normally when your infertility is not unexplained, people have like fibroid tumors, endometriosis, low sperm count, and they can basically target what's wrong with you and help you in that area. But when you have unexplained infertility, it's like, oh, we don't know what's wrong with you. Sorry, we can't target anything because we don't know what's wrong. And that's basically what I dealt with after my treatments had failed, them basically saying, you don't have any of these things, so we don't know what's wrong. So I did want to add that in for my last video about the unexplained infertility and all that. So I'm gonna jump right into my emotional journey, the emotions that I went through while dealing with infertility. So there were different stages that I went through with the emotional part of my infertility journey. In the beginning, when I first started realizing I had issues, it wasn't that challenging for me emotionally because I was young. I felt like, okay, it'll happen, it's all timing. But as time kept getting closer and I kept getting older and things kept failing, my emotions and the way I felt kind of changed. I was always the one in the family throwing the baby showers for everybody, coming up with the baby shower games. I was at my point where I could go to a baby shower. It didn't bother me. I was happy to celebrate folks. It was all good. Then I had got to a point where baby showers were too much. They made me feel depressed. I could not attend them. I would just send a gift, but I couldn't be there. And it had nothing to do with being jealous of the other person. And that's what people have to understand. Sometimes when people are dealing with things, they can't go to things, and it's okay for them not to show up and support on that part of it, if it's going to make them leave depressed and sad and all those types of things. And if you love those people and you're a friend of those folks, then you should be able to respect what they're going through and understand that if it's too much for them, it's just too much for them. I had my stages where I did go through jealousy, where I would walk in the mall and I would see people pushing babies in strollers. I would see pregnant women and I would go in my car and I would cry on the way home. I would become angry and frustrated. So I had a really big emotional roller coaster throughout my journey. After my very first failed IVF, it took me a very long time to get myself together. So I did go to a doctor and inquired about like anxiety medicine and things like that. And he didn't diagnose me with anything, but he did prescribe me some medication for just to help me out because I was just going through so many changes. The medicine I took for a couple of days, but I didn't like the way it made me feel. I cannot remember the name of it, but I didn't like the way it made me feel. To me, it made me feel worse before it made me feel better. So I stopped taking it and was just like, I'm going to be okay. I had to just, be around positive people, positive things, and keep myself in a positive mindset. I became heavily into fitness because PCOS can be controlled by what you eat and exercise. So once I found that out, I got strong. I started teaching Zumba. I started working out and developing a healthy diet and things like that to help me out. So once I started that, I kind of felt in love with it. And I'm still going with my fitness journey and things like that and making myself stronger. It just helps me mentally. You know, a lot of people see you in the gym and they think you're just in there to make yourself skinny. But sometimes you're in there to make yourself mentally strong. And for me, that's what it does for me. It helps my mental state as well as my physical. So that was another way that I kind of cope with things. I cope with things by not attending things. If it was too much for me, I just didn't go. You know, and I just didn't surround myself around people who would make me feel worse about myself. You know, I had those folks in my life who didn't know what I was going through. And they would ask me every time they see me, what are y'all waiting on? Y'all been together so long. Why y'all don't have no kids? What you waiting on, girl? You better hurry up. You getting older. Oh, by the time you have some, y'all gonna be old. You ain't gonna have no pay. Like everybody was saying all those types of things to me. And I would always just smile and say, oh, we're working on it. It's coming. Oh, we're good. You don't have to worry about us. We're good. You know, kind of like trying to get the conversation in another direction. And I wanted to speak about that in this video because if you're one of those people who ask folks, when are you going to have kids? Stop. Okay. First off, it's not your business. That's the first thing you need to know. It's not your business. And I know most people who asked me did not mean any harm. They were just curious to know, why don't y'all have kids? Y'all been together for so long, you know, and they were just curious to know. But like, it's not for you to ask people that. I mean, you don't know. Somebody could have just suffered a miscarriage, a stillbirth or whatever, and you asking them that could push them over the edge. So just don't ask those types of questions. You know, if you just pray for them automatically. And then some people don't want kids. And there's nothing wrong with that. I know a few people personally who don't have them and they don't want them. And it's okay if they don't want children. God don't give everybody the heart to want kids. I had another friend who went through fertility issues and she was just like, I don't care to go through any fertility drugs. God has so many children on this earth that need to be adopted, and that's what he put me here for. And she had the heart for adoption. I didn't have the heart for it. You know, my husband, I kind of got around to it at one point, and my husband was kind of like, no, let's just wait, you know, let's wait it out. Let's just see. I believe we're going to have our own biological child, so let's just wait on it. But for some folks, they have the heart and the desire to do that, and so they do that. So in that same breath, I want to say, when you know someone has fertility problems, don't say, oh, just adopt. Girl, just adopt. Oh, girl, you can just have my kids. That's insensitive. Because adopting is very expensive and it's not as easy as it sounds. And nobody don't want your kids. They want their own children. I've had people just say all types of stupid stuff. And it's just like, before you say those things, just use your brain. Because think about something that you're going on, something that you're going through in your life, that's going on in your life. Think about that and wonder if you want somebody to be insensitive about those types of things. And so when I was going through this journey, I felt like God put me around so many other women that were dealing with the same thing I was dealing with. Somehow we had a conversation and we stumbled across each other. And I was the only one out of all those folks who were the last to get pregnant. And I was angry at God for that. Because my thing was, God, why would you put me around all these women, all these couples, and then you blessing all of them one by one? And here I am sitting back looking crazy. You still ain't done it for me. Like, why would you even put me around these people? So that was hard for me. And I still tried my best to celebrate those folks as much as I could. And I do want to speak on the incident and the reason why I'm speaking on this incident is because it's something that kind of like really scarred me in my infertility journey. But I had a friend that we were friends at the time, and she had lost a multiple birth pregnancy. And so when she was trying again, her and I were going through a fertility cycle at the same time. Okay. She found out she was pregnant maybe like a week before it was time for me to find out if it had worked for me. And that cycle had failed for me. And I was there for her because she had some stuff going on medically. And I was there for her as much as I could be. I called her, I checked on her, I texted her, and she was good. I was a teacher at the time. So during the summertime, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, like I'm on social media 24/7. But once that first day of school hit, if you are a teacher or ever worked in the school system or work with kids, you know that it's come on, let's go in the beginning of the year. You ain't got time to be on social media. You are at work and you're working. Well, she got very upset with me, this girl, because I didn't like something she posted on Facebook pertaining to her pregnancy. And she texted me and was like, I noticed that you changed and you're jealous of me. You're jealous because I got pregnant and you didn't. And God ain't gonna give you a child because you can't be happy for other people. Okay. I was very hurt. It kind of scarred me because I didn't understand where she was coming from. Like, I sat there and I went back to figure out, like, where did I go wrong? Like, I texted her, I called her, I checked up on her. And just because I didn't like something on Facebook, you're that upset with me. Like, she made a long post, like, throwing off on me on Facebook. And her and I fell out. We fell out over it. And because she kept saying it. She kept saying it like you were jealous. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, every time I would go through a fail cycle, it was like somebody stabbed me. It took me weeks to get myself back together. So what I was experiencing, it had nothing to do with her personally. I was happy for her, but I'm not going to be jumping off a wall. It wasn't me. You know what I mean? And so that was very painful. I just had people who were around me and knew that what I was going through. They said insensitive things. Once they got their children, they were insensitive. And that's the reason why I am making these videos. The reason why I am so vocal and verbal about my journey with no shame, because I told God I will not be that person. I will never forget the pain that I dealt with for years. I would never be insensitive to another female that are going through these things. You know, even with I had to go through I went through a little thing where I didn't want to post my pregnancy photos. I didn't want to post my child. I felt very bad because I know other people who are still there, and I just felt bad because I didn't want them to see my post or see something and feel something. But then another side of me is like, no, you are a living testimony that if God did it for you, he can do it for them. So that's just some of the things that I went through with people. And it was very bad. And I have forgiven folks. I don't care to talk to some of these folks anymore, but I have forgiven them in order for me to be blessed. To talk about my relationship with God, my religion, and things in that area. So I was raised in church, and I was raised that you get married and then you have children and all those types of things. So because I got married, you know what I mean, I didn't expect to have fertility problems. And I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad if you're not married and going through fertility problems. I'm talking about the way I was raised. So for me, I was angry at God that I had done everything the right way, and I still ended up with these problems. So my relationship with God was definitely tainted. I would still go to church. Sometimes I would sit there, and when the pastor was preaching, I didn't want to hear anything they were saying. You know, I would tell my sister, I'm sick of hearing all these promises and nothing is happening for me. So I went through a stage where I was thinking and doing things that I know that me and the way I was raised would have never done, would have never thought. But I was just in the stage of pain, and I had got to the point where I didn't care about my salvation. Well, I ain't gonna say I didn't care about my salvation, but I didn't care about my relationship with God. But something in me deep down would keep stirring me up to not give up on what I grew up on, the God that I always knew about. And I'm glad that I didn't, because he blessed me. Even though I was not probably doing the best that I could, he still loved me enough to give me the desires of my heart. So that's the end of this video. I hope it makes sense. It's kind of all over the place, but I feel like it needed to be a continuance from my first video. And I did want to mention my doctors before I get off. The first doctor that I visited was Carolina Conceptions, which is in Raleigh, North Carolina. And then I visited NCCRM, which is also in Durham, Cary, Raleigh, somewhere in that area. Both practices were amazing. Doctors were amazing. I just wanted to throw that out there for anyone who is seeking a fertility clinic to go to. So hopefully my next video will include my better half. I'm going to try to make these videos. I'm still working on podcasting and things like that. My life is just really hectic and crazy, but I'm trying to make time to stick to this 2020 goal of sharing my story and getting the story out there. So God bless y'all, and thanks for listening. Mwah.